Chapter 2. 7 months earlier. Blaine. Blaine Hollis paused, the weighted bar just inches from his chest, as the smart watch on his wrist vibrated, letting him know he was receiving a call. It was his workout time. Who in the world would be calling him right now? Everyone he was close friends with should be working out now too. And his family? Well, that was a whole other story. Surely nothing was wrong with them. He pushed the bar up and placed it back in the rack before glancing at his wrist. The unknown number only served to stir up the apprehension bubbling in his stomach. He pulled his phone out of the armband pouch, where it stayed nestled and sweat-free during his workout, and paused the Toby Mac song pumping through his ears before answering. "Hello?" The word came out labored due to the adrenaline coursing through his body. "Blaine, it's Tucker. I need your help." Tucker Jackson. Of course. If he'd checked his phone instead of his watch, he would have seen Tucker's name. But his watch only flashed numbers, and he had long ago stopped memorizing them. He should have guessed it was Tucker, though. He was the only Texas Tornado team member not at workout practice right now, because he'd been given emergency leave to return home due to his father's heart attack. "Tucker, aren't you supposed to be with your dad?" Blaine grabbed a towel from his bag and wiped it across his forehead. "I am, and he's doing okay. I actually need help for the Christmas party tomorrow." Blaine's hand froze. Had he missed a memo? He didn't remember hearing anything about a Christmas party. "What party, Tucker?" "At the community center. I promised Shelby that I would bring presents for the kids." "But aren't you in San Antonio?" Was Tucker asking him to bring presents to the center? He didn't have presents, nor did he feel like going out and getting any, and somehow he doubted Tucker had purchased any before leaving town. He didn't mind kids, really, at least as long as they belonged to someone else and he only had to be around them for small windows of time. Anything longer than that dredged up memories that he wanted to keep hidden. "I'm driving back tomorrow so I can keep my word. Look, my sister Whitley is purchasing a ton of items and asking that they be available for collection at the stores in South Lake. Do you think you could round up a few guys to help you pick up the toys and help me deliver them tomorrow night?" Blaine rolled his eyes, even though he knew Tucker couldn't see the gesture over the phone. Picking up toys was not how he had intended to spend his Christmas Eve. But it wasn't like he had much else planned. He certainly wasn't going home to a family. They hadn't spent a Christmas together in years. And bringing gifts to the kids at the center seemed like a worthy use of his time. "How many toys are we talking about?" He thought about his red Mustang. He wouldn't be putting many gifts in there. 50, at least." 50? Blaine spat the word out in surprise. "I can't carry 50 toys in my car." Tucker sighed on the other end. "Which is why I asked you to see if some of the guys could help out. Doesn't Mason have a large truck?" Mason Dixon, his parents had an odd sense of humor, was one of the wide receivers on the team, and he did indeed drive a large souped-up truck. But Blaine didn't know if it would even hold 50 toys. "Please, Blaine." The silence must have made Tucker think Blaine was refusing his request. Those kids really deserve Christmas. "Yeah, I get it. I was thinking of who else to ask." Though Blaine was not a fan of Christmas, not anymore anyway, he couldn't deny that the kids Tucker had been working with could probably use a little Christmas cheer, at least if the stories Tucker had told him were true. "Okay, I'll get it done. Where do you want to meet?" "How about at the stadium? Can you gather a bunch of the guys?" "I'll do my best, Tucker, but it is Christmas Eve we're talking about here. Some of the guys have little kids." "Whatever you can manage, Blaine. Thanks. You're a lifesaver." The phone went dead in his ear and Blaine sighed. Not only had he lost a good 5 minutes of his workout, but he'd have to pause it a little longer to ask the guys about helping before they left for the day. It was a good thing no one would be waiting on him tonight, because he had a late night ahead of him. He found Mason and Rodney soaking in the hot tubs. They were a hot commodity after a hard workout. The two men must have already finished their workouts, and a small seed of jealousy stirred within him. A hot tub sounded so relaxing right about now. Well, at least Rodney drove a rather large truck as well. Maybe they would both agree and he could get back to his workout quickly. Hey guys, I have a favor to ask. Well, actually, Tucker does. Mason opened one eye and looked at Blaine. Where is Tucker anyway? Family emergency, but he's coming back tomorrow night. Evidently, the center he's been volunteering at is having a Christmas party. He asked that we collect the toys he ordered and bring them to the stadium tomorrow night. Can you guys help out? Rodney shrugged and nodded. Sure. My family's local, so I can always visit them afterwards. What about you, Mason? Mason's eyes shifted to the side. Yeah, I'm free. I wasn't planning on catching up with my family until after the game tomorrow, so I can be there. Blaine found Mason's reaction curious. He almost seemed as if he were hiding something, but he had no time to pry. Thanks, guys. I'm going to see who else I can round up. Think you can be ready in half an hour? The two men nodded, and Blaine headed out of the room to see who else might still be around and willing to help out. Kenzi watched Shelby's face as she ended the call. Her friend had been so wound up today, first with the news about Tucker being involved in a bar brawl, and then him not showing up to help plan the party he'd said he would pay for. For his sake, Kenzi hoped he had been the one on the line, because if he didn't apologize soon, Shelby would tear him a new one when she saw him again. Her best friend was not normally an angry person, but the kids at this center meant everything to her, and if she had to disappoint them, someone was going to pay. Was that Tucker? Kenzi kept her voice light as she posed the question. She certainly didn't want to earn a spot on Shelby's bad side if the news wasn't good. It was. He said he left a message about today. Shelby's eyes roamed over the desk, and she lifted papers as if she expected to see a handwritten note somewhere. Evidently his father had a heart attack. Kenzi's hand flew to her mouth. She knew firsthand how serious heart attacks could be. Her grandfather had died of one at the age of 68. Oh my gosh, is he okay? Shelby paused her search and lifted her eyes to meet Kenzi's in a blank stare. I don't know. I forgot to ask. She'd forgotten to ask? How was that possible? Shelby was the poster child for courtesy and decorum. She always said bless you when somebody sneezed, sent thank you cards for every gift she received, and kept a stack of get-well notes in her drawer for whenever the occasion might arise. Kenzi knew Shelby had been distracted lately, or perhaps consumed was a better word, with the center's rent and the Christmas party. But she couldn't believe she hadn't asked Tucker how his father was. She definitely had too much on her mind right now. Anyway, Shelby continued with a shake of her head, he said he was sending me money through PayPal and that I was to take care of the decorations and to spread the word. He said he'd take care of the gifts. Decorations? Money? The words were like manna to Kenzi's ears. Well, we better get started then. We've got a lot to do before tomorrow night. Right. Why don't I transfer the money to you and you pick up the decorations while I start calling? Disappointment flooded Kenzi. She'd been hoping to spend a few hours with her friend like they used to, before Shelby took over managing the center and trying to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders. Can't you come too? Just for an hour or so? It'll be like old times. Kenzi, there's so much to do, Shelby began. The pinched look covered her face again. And it's not going anywhere, Kenzi said, interrupting her. It will still be here when we get back, and I promise we'll be quick. I'd just like to spend some time with my best friend. Please. Kenzi put on her best puppy dog eyes. Shelby swore she was immune to Kenzi's charms, and maybe she was. But more often than not, Kenzi could convince her to say yes, with a few eye bats and a well-timed pout. Shelby's face eased into a smile, and a small chuckle escaped her lips. Okay, you win. 1 hour, and then I have to get back to work. It wasn't as much as she'd hoped for, but Kenzi would take it. Any time with Shelby outside the center felt like a gift, and one she planned to make the most of. Okay, so I'll transfer the money to my account. That shouldn't take too long. It will probably take us about 15 minutes to get to the store, which leaves us approximately 30 minutes to shop. That is, of course, if we can keep our travel time under 15 minutes, because we'll need to get back as well. Kenzi wasn't sure whether Shelby was talking to her or herself, since her head was down and her gaze was focused on her wristwatch. "We need to make sure we're back in time to set up for the kids this afternoon." Kenzi rolled her eyes good-naturedly. Shelby was nothing if not efficient, and Kenzi had never known her to mess up a schedule. Ever. "Don't worry. We'll have plenty of time. I've already got an idea of what I'd like to do." Shelby glanced up with a look of surprise, as if she'd forgotten Kenzi was even with her. "Right. That's good, because you know me and decorating." Kenzi smiled as she opened the driver's side door. She did know Shelby's idea of decorating, and it was atrocious. Shelby's mother had let her decorate her room when she turned 16, and as Shelby couldn't decide whether she preferred purple or red that year, she'd used both. On the walls, on the curtains, on the bed. When she'd finished, it looked like someone had massacred Barney the Purple Dinosaur in there. So, when Shelby had finally moved into her own apartment, she had called Kenzi to help her decorate it. They'd left the walls white, as most landlords don't let you paint walls anyway, and used accents to bring color into the room. The effect was a much more subdued, cohesive atmosphere. Of course, it also helped that Shelby had finally decided on lavender as her favorite color. Kenzi shivered at the memory and turned the key in the ignition. "Yep, no decorating for you." "Hey." Shelby slugged her on the shoulder, but it was light and a smile graced her lips, so Kenzi knew she wasn't really mad. Besides, she'd been the one who brought it up, not Kenzi. Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time came on as Kenzi drove to the store. She loved Christmas, and this was her favorite Christmas song. Something about the beat stuck with her long after the song ended, and she would find herself humming or whistling the tune hours later, but she didn't mind. Since the age of 3, she had loved all things Christmas. Santa, presents, the tree, but most of all the lights. There was something magical about Christmas lights, both on the tree and on houses at night. It transformed them, brought out magic, and made them appear brighter, warmer, cheerier. No matter how cold, Kenzi loved to walk around the neighborhood after dark and stare up at the lights. Her imagination would create stories of the people inside: mothers in aprons baking gingerbread cookies, fathers in Santa hats reading stories to the kids, and the children bundled in footy pajamas, drinking hot chocolate as they listened to their fathers read. Of course, her own childhood had been nothing like that, so she wasn't sure why that was the picture she created. But maybe it was because her own family had been nothing like that. No, her family had been the other kind. The kind that paid people to come hang their Christmas lights because they didn't have time to do it, or didn't want to make the time. And forget colorful lights or icicle lights. Those were too impractical. Solid white lights were the only way to go, in a single solitary row like good little soldiers. The tree was an enormous 12-foot artificial tree that had been purchased before Kenzi was born, but her father never set it up. No, hired help did that too. And while Kenzi was allowed to hang ornaments, the maid was told to come in after and rearrange them all so that they were spaced evenly and uniformly apart. There were never stories, or gingerbread men, or hot cocoa, but still Kenzi loved it. When she'd been old enough to earn an allowance, she had saved up until she could purchase a small artificial tree for her room. No one complained how she decorated that one. Every year she would pull out her little 2-foot tree the day after Thanksgiving, and after she decorated it, she would add her cheer to the rest of the house. Then she would record all the Christmas movies and marathon watch them when she had time. She was determined that one day, not only would she have a Christmas like they did in the movies, but that her parents would join her and enjoy it too. Kenzi parked the car in the Walmart lot, and they headed inside and toward the Christmas section. Several rows had been dedicated to the holiday and were overflowing with ornaments, wrapping paper, and lawn displays. Kenzi knew exactly what she wanted, though, and with the $500 Tucker had wired over, it would be more than enough.